Bonjour, donc nous sommes aujourd'hui avec une personne qu'on ne présente plus, c'est Monsieur Steve Vai. Hi, and thank you very much for according us some of your time. Before talking about your new album, let's try to know you a little bit more. You have played with Frank Zappa, Alcatraz, David Lee Roth, among others. You were a student of Joe Satriani, and you were named honorary doctor by Berklee College of Music. What this honorary doctorate means to you?
Well, I think I can speak on behalf of all artists when I say it's really nice to be recognized for your contribution. And that's what that was. I had attended Berklee. I loved Berklee. I loved going there. It was a wonderful rite of passage. I met so many great people. I learned so much. And I've supported them through the years. And they have a program where they recognize various artists who have made particular types of contributions. And I was fortunate enough to be recognized by them. And they awarded me an honorary doctorate. I also received one from Musicians Institute, and they're very nice. I mean, it's always nice to be recognized for what you're doing.
Okay, so
it's not something. I don't believe that it's something worthy of trying to achieve. You know, I don't think it makes a good goal, because you can never predict these things. It's a lovely accoutrement. It's a consequence of just what I do, and it's really nice.
Okay, so many of us often watch your famous guitar duel in a Crossroads. It's a cult scene for many guitarists. How do you perceive it today, this particular scene?
Well, probably maybe a year ago or so, I saw it for the first time in many years, and it was interesting. You know, I just thought, who is that guy? And I had a wonderful time doing it, and I really enjoyed working with Ry Cooder and Arlen Roth and Ralph Macchio and Walter Hill. And it was a great opportunity to see what's under the hood in filmmaking, you know. What I didn't, and at the time I was doing it, it felt very natural. You know, they showed me the script, and I got together with Ry, and we kind of built everything, and then they asked me to be in the film. And at the time that you're doing those kinds of things, you have no idea what the result is going to be. You know, so I surrender the effects, you know, but nothing could have prepared me for what a successful movie can do for an artist. Because, I mean, you could sell millions of records, but be in one hit film and do something cool, and you're recognized all over the place, you know. So that was the little adjustment for a while back then, you know, actually just being recognized. And it stuck for years until I started to change so much that I'm not easily recognized as that guy in the film. But it was amazing for my career.
Yeah.
Because I mean, I can't tell you how many people have mentioned to me how that performance has inspired them, influenced them. So I'm happy about that.
Yeah, that's why I say, this scene give a lot of people the envy to play guitar. So
yeah,
and I think it's the beginning of your huge career. But I think this is really something that makes you really well known about a lot of people. So it was a good thing.
It was, for me, it was fantastic. You know, it was a blessing, and it was fun, you know. And I think that we really created something nice because it works. It works in the film. It works for the story. And I was happy to be that guy.
Yeah, of course. Listening to your albums, and this is a very personal opinion, I feel a tortured person with a brain in perpetual bubbling. Um, how, how, how did you live your passage in Whitesnake where everything is written and calculated? Uh, because you need freedom. How can you play with the two parts of you? Do you understand what I say?
I absolutely do. Because those two parts of me are friends.
Mm-hmm.
And I can't contribute to something that I don't feel that I can appropriately contribute to. If I do feel that I can contribute appropriately, I usually have a really good time, and there's a pull to do it. So with something like Frank Zappa, that it's not my music, and but at the time it felt right. I didn't feel like my freedoms were being compromised. If I did, I wouldn't have done it. Or if I did, I probably would have had a terrible time. When David Lee Roth came along, that kind of music was very dear to me, because when I was young, I grew up in the 70s listening to Led Zeppelin, Queen, Deep Purple, Alice Cooper, Kiss, Aerosmith. And the other side, I was listening to compositional music and also top 40. So there was a lot going on. So when something like David Lee Roth came along, I knew instinctually that I could contribute appropriately. It wouldn't have been, I knew it wasn't going to be what Edward did, because I'm not him, but I knew that I could infuse that band with a particular energy that I thought would work, and did. When Whitesnake came, so there was no compromising of freedom,
Okay.
And the same thing with Whitesnake. If freedom is this big, say, let's say freedom is someone like myself saying, I'm going to do whatever my creative instincts tell me, whatever I feel a pull to do, that's within my freedom. So when something like Whitesnake came along, it was something that I resonated with. It may have compromised my big freedom, but within it was plenty of freedom. So I didn't feel, I never felt like I was being suppressed or anything like that.
Okay.
That never works. It never worked for me. And anybody that I work with knows that if they're working with me or they want something from me, they kind of have an idea what they're going to get, which is the unexpected. They also know that it's not going to do them very much good to tell me what to do, because I won't be good at it.
Yeah, because okay, I think you need to be free. So
yeah, and I am.
Yeah,
I feel totally. I felt free my entire career.
Yeah, because it was my question. When you went to such huge bands, you're just a part of the band, and you had to manage between your creativity and the respect to the song. So that's why I asked you.
Well, interestingly enough, when I was in David Lee Roth, Alcatraz, and Whitesnake, I was also working on Passion and Warfare.
Mm-hmm.
So those Passion and Warfare and all those other things were very, very different.
It was a balance.
Yeah, I found that balance on my own.
Okay, here's the guitar for you, an outlet for all the torments and the vicissitudes of life. And how do you feel now in those crazy times?
Can you give me that question again? Sorry about that.
Yeah, sorry for my English. Is the guitar for you an outlet for all the torments and the vicissitudes of life? And how do you feel now in those crazy times?
Well, I discovered that a person's happiness is the most important thing in their life, because you can't give something that you don't have. And if you don't have happiness, anything you give is compromised. So how do you find happiness? You know, that's the question. And the way you find it is by recognizing the obstacles to it. And the obstacles to a person's happiness is always only ever their own thoughts about the world and about themselves. So I recognized that, and I started to see within myself all those illusory thoughts that created stress, created stress. And my focus in life is recognizing those things and looking past them. And so anything that I engage in, I try to see how it can serve me and how I can serve it. So the guitar, when I was young, I would say it was a psychological escape. Absolutely. Because when I was very young, there was tumultuous things going on in my head. And when I was focusing on the guitar, it all went away.
Yeah.
You know, so it was kind of like a numbing. And that's probably why I practiced so much and I played so much. I loved the idea of not being able to play something and then working on it and then being able to play it. That was joyful.
Yeah.
So I don't use the guitar these days to escape, because I don't need to escape from anything anymore. You know, I accept, you know, I accept what is. And as a result, playing the guitar has its challenges, but I like those challenges. I make those challenges for myself because it's so much fun when you accomplish what you creatively set out for. So there's no escaping. And what was the second part of your question?
It is how do you feel now in those crazy times with all this stress around the world with this famous virus and everything? I found a lot of people which are very stressed, very aggressive, and music is something that can help you to be cool. So how do you transcribe it into your music?
Well, stress is a product of fear that people have, right? And when the pandemic hit, there was a lot of fear. The fear was unnecessary, but when people are in fear, they just do crazy things. You know, they compromise their better judgment. They attack, they blame, they judge. They're in fear.
Yeah.
And being in fear completely cuts at the root of your ability to be the most effective, creative person that you have the potential to be. And this is what's important. Your creativity, your expressing of your creativity is vital. It's vital. When you're not doing it, you're unhappy. And most people don't believe that the thing that they enjoy doing on a creative level is worthy.
Yeah.
They don't think it's good enough. They don't, and so this blocks them from even finding it. Many people don't know what their bliss is, you know, because It could be something very simple that they love doing, that they enjoy doing, that is stress-free, that has no fear in it, that has no fear of the failure of the future, that doesn't have any of this stuff in it. It's just the enjoyable it could be anything. It could be music, it could be painting, it could be bookkeeping, it could be cleaning, it could be cooking, it could be anything. And everybody has something that they can find enjoyment in doing. So this gets obscured. And when it's obscured, you suffer.
Yeah.
You suffer because your freedom is compromised. When your freedom is compromised, it just doesn't work. The only thing that ever compromises your freedom is your fear. So when you start recognizing that and dissolving it, you can create a momentum. The momentum of your creative engagement is so important because it starts with just a little enthusiasm over an idea that you have. Okay, could be a song, could be a riff, could be a recipe, it could be anything. But if you look, you'll feel a little like an enthusiasm. Like when I did, for instance, in my case, every song on the record, The Teeth of the Hydra. When the idea came, I went, oh, yeah. But Little Pretty, when the idea came, oh, yeah. Knapsack, when the idea came, yeah, that's what I want to do. Okay, so everybody has these aha moments, but right after they get them, the fear, the ego kicks in and starts telling them, yeah, but. Yeah, I'd like to do that, but I can't because, and then they just fill in the blank. I could fail. It's not good enough. How am I going to make a living? This isn't going to make me happy. All this crazy shit. So this is why creating a momentum of enthusiasm is so vital. And the way you do that, when that idea comes up in you, that enthusiastic idea, you make that you give that your full attention. And the moment that your mind detracts you, and you pull it back and you follow your enthusiasm. The evolution of enthusiasm is passion. Okay. Mm-hmm. Once you reach a state of passion, the momentum is secure and nothing will stop it except yourself. If you fell off if the wheels fell off of your own thoughts. So finding something that's enthusiastic and then cultivating it into a passion is going to result in your joy. So that's how I handled the pandemic. I just followed things that were enthusiastic.
Okay. Do you think that you were able to explore all the possibility with a guitar? And is it why you have created another original guitar with 3 necks?
Well, I've always had an attraction to multi-neck guitars, and I've had them in the past, but I never really felt like I created a piece of music that integrated them. And I wanted to do that with this song and this guitar. So the idea for the guitar and the song kind of came at once, but they were just visualizations. But that's how you manifest things. You make a visualization. So the idea was to create a guitar that had these 3 necks and all these other kinds of electronics, and then create a piece of music that actually uses them all in a linear way. It's like this song is horizontal. It's not vertical. And I knew first and foremost that I wanted it to be a good song on its own and not sound like a gimmick attached to a guitar, And I knew I wanted it to have a great melody. So Ibanez built the guitar, and it took about 4 years. And then when I got it, I was pretty overwhelmed. I mean, it was awesome and terrifying, you know, because I knew I had to create a piece of music. So I just kind of sat and started working it out. And when you listen to the song, the Teeth of the Hydra, all the guitar, all the bass, all the 12 string, the harp strings, that's all one performance on the Hydra. I did it in sections, you know, but it's kind of like juggling chainsaws or something. So the idea came and it was very enthusiastic. And I also knew that I could do it if I put the time in. So that's very important when you come up with an idea. You have to also know. You can't believe. You just have to know, you know, because if I was to say, well, I believe I can do that, but I don't know, because that's what a belief is. A belief actually says, but I don't know. It's very different than knowing. Knowing has no belief in it. So that's what I look for before I do something. I say, I know I can do this. I have to put the time in. If I don't put the time in, then it's not going to happen. And that's the case for many, many, many things that I imagine. But the pandemic offered me time to do things that I knew I could do if I had the time, but never had the time. So the Hydra was one of them.
Oh, Inviolation. What is the concept or the guiding idea of the album?
The what? I'm sorry?
About Inviolation, what is the concept or the guiding idea of the album?
Inviolation?
What is the concept or the guiding idea of the album? Because your composition seemed to reflect a lot of spirituality. What message would you like to send to the world with these messages?
I don't make a conscious effort to send a message, because everybody, anybody that would hear anything I do or anything that anybody does is going to give it the meaning that it has for them. Because we always give things the meaning it has to us. We don't give it real meaning. You know, that's impossible. So when I set out to do something, I know what it means to me, and I infuse the song with that. This is what we do. All artists do this. You infuse the piece that you're working on with your intention. And my intention with this music is to create a musical atmosphere that some people can really become engaged in and find fulfilling, like really fulfilling, you know. And it's obviously that it's not going to be the case for the vast majority of music listeners, but most artists, if they're fortunate, they have a group of people that follow what they do, because there's just something in it that you can't put their finger on, but they're really attracted to. It's a feeling. That's the message. The message is the feeling of joy. I'm not here to be political or religious or tell people, give anything to people to believe. I just want to be the best entertainer, the best service provider that I can be, while first satisfying myself.
Okay.
Because if I do that, I know that there's going to be other people that are going to find satisfaction in it. So there's no real message except joy.
Okay, because why so little singing in your songs? Because you transcribe your emotion through your guitar, but wouldn't it be a bit easier to transcribe with lyrics sometimes? Maybe easier to interpret for the one who receives your music.
yeah, having lyrics makes it easier for the majority of people to kind of connect. And in the past, most of my records have some kind of vocals. You know, I sing a little bit. I have other singers come. And I like singing. I like my voice, but it's very limited. It's not rock and roll, and it only works for me on certain things. So I decided early on that I just didn't want to be a singer on the stage as a main kind of instrument because it's just too much. You know, it's too much to deal with for me. I just singers have a hard time in that their voice, I mean, their voice is their instrument and it's very precarious. You know, you don't get enough sleep and it affects your voice. Somebody leaves the air conditioning on in the bus and, you know, you get the sniffles, you get sick or you're tired, you know, all these things affect it. And I don't know how to sing properly. I never really spent time. So I blow my voice out very quickly. And I just didn't want to be subjected to such a delicate instrument. You know, I like a guitar. You give me a guitar and I'm just ready to go. And I can do 15, 20 shows in a row, you know, and it's not a problem. If I was a singer, no way.
No,
2 shows, you know, day on.
I ask you this because I think your music is not easy to catch. So you really have to be in the song and sometimes the emotion you want to translate maybe will be easier to understand if there is some lyrics according
to and some songs do have lyrics, and I'm working on, I almost finished a solo acoustic vocal record that it's all lyrics, you know, everything else is just kind of like this. But there's, for every artist, there's a great variety of listeners. So for instance, for someone like myself, some people may feel, well, you know, I think there's might be something good there, but I don't really get it because I tune in on lyrics and I prefer music that has lyrics. It gets the point across. It's just like that. And as good as STEVE VAI, people believe he might be, it just doesn't do it for me because it's instrumental music. I don't like instrumental music. Some people are like that. That's fine. And then there's people that, you know, there's maybe a lot less people, but they're there and they may feel like, no, this is music. This is real music because it's got real melody. It's got real harmonic structures. It's got real groove and lyrics. For some people, the lyrics can be very superficial. You know, the point that they're getting across is completely uninteresting to them because it's usually based on, a lot of times people write lyrics based on how much they hate themselves, they hate the world, their heart is broken, and all this kind of stuff. And that's fine. Not everybody does that. But some people have different tastes, and I don't pay attention to any of it.
Okay.
I wake up and I go, what do you want to do today? Okay, let's do that. That's it.
Okay. How would you describe your music to someone who had never listened to you before?
What I say when people say, what do you do? I just say, well, I'm a guitar player. They say, oh, what kind of music do you play? I say, primarily rock.
Okay.
And I say primarily instrumental guitar music. So then if they continue to be interested, like, well, what does it sound like? And I'll say, well, I have a particular musical voice, and sometimes it's very complicated. My music can be dense, but there's always good melody. And sometimes what I do has got a lot of energy in it, and it's pretty intense. And sometimes it's very subtle. And I like to bridge everything in between. So this is me trying to explain, you know, it's difficult.
Yeah.
They would, what I might say to them is, if you want to know what my music sounds like, but you don't want to listen, you could read what other people think, because I'm not a good judge.
Yeah. How do you live the fact of being a model and an idol for many guitarists? And doesn't this add extra pressure to each of your release?
Well, I'm truly honored and humbled by the fact that I can do something that can inspire other guitar players, because that's how I learned. I was inspired by other guitar players, you know. So it's a really nice badge to wear. I'm really deeply appreciative that I can do that, and that there's people that are interested. What was the second half of your question?
Yeah, doesn't this add extra pressure to each of your release?
The pressure.
Yeah.
There was a time in my life, for a long period of time, where there was pressure. I used to feel as though I have to do something that people will, you know, I know people will like. But what I discovered is you can't second guess people. You just can't. And when you try to do something to please somebody else other than yourself, you're not necessarily being authentic with your own potential. You're not allowing your true potential, because your true potential creatively is only ever going to come out when you're loving what you're doing for you.
Mm-hmm.
Or you're doing it with other people. You're co-creating. So I realize that it's futile to try to second guess my audience. And I also came to the realization that the audience isn't stupid. They know when you're hitting your mark, and they kind of know when you're missing it. Not all of them, of course, you know, but an artist that has a group of fans that are very dedicated to them, those fans are tuned in, and they know if the artist is trying to do something outside of their comfort zone, you know. So I believe my fans just like when I'm being very Vai.
When you write a song, does the title give you the framework, or do you choose the title once the song is finished?
Both. You know, sometimes the title comes first. Like Teeth of the Hydra, the title came first. Song like Little Pretty, the title came after, because you listen to the song and it tells you. And that the song, it just kept saying Little Pretty. It's even in the melody constantly. And something like Zeus in Chains, the song had to tell me what the name was, and I asked it. Mm-hmm. And the way you ask it is you listen carefully. You listen to the atmosphere of the song. You listen to the intensity, the groove, the sweetness, or the dissonance. And when it got to and I was listening to Zeus in Chains saying, what's your name? And then when that part came in the middle where there's the big heavy guitars and the very dissonant tritone up top, it just said Zeus in Chains. And that was it. And that it happens that way. A song like Freak Show Excess on, I forget what record I put that on. Maybe it was the Ultras. Sorry. But yeah. Like that, the title came first. It was somebody had reviewed one of my shows, and they said it was like Freak Show Excess. So I thought, that's a good name for a song. And so I thought, what would a song sound like if it was called that? So it's all over the place.
Okay. One last question before let you go. Which album made you want to make music? If you remember.
There wasn't an album. When I first, as far as I could recall, the first time I was lit up musically, I think I was about 4 or 5 years old, probably 4 years old. And there was music around, but it was off of my radar. But I was kind of attracted to it, but I didn't know what I was hearing or anything. But one day I went up to a piano and I played a note, and I was about 4, and I noticed how the keyboard was laid out and how notes go higher and lower. And right at that moment, I really had an epiphany. And it just, if I was to verbalize the epiphany, it would sound something like this. Oh, so that's how music is built. And these little black dots, I see. When you put them together, that makes a chord. When you change the notes, it creates that different chord. When you write a melody, it goes like this. And that's what when I'm hearing music, that's what it is. So that was one epiphany. And at the same time, the understanding that music, that the creation of music was an infinite process, and that it's based on your imagination. I believe if I had to point to any particular point in time where I realized that I loved music and this is what I was going to do, that would be it. So there wasn't any real record or something that I heard from somebody else, but eventually I started really giving attention to music, and then everything opened up.
Okay. So before leaving, do you have some words for your French fans before leaving?
Well, thank you for all the support. And I'm looking really forward to being on tour and being there. And I hope that everybody is doing well. And also throw yourself into those creative things that are meaningful to you, regardless of what anybody says, regardless of what anybody else believes you should be doing. Throw yourself into what you love with no excuses.
Okay. Okay, so thank you very much. It was a pleasure. I saw you on stage at Guitare en Scène near in the Saint-Julien en Genevois. I don't remember if you. Yeah. So I hope
I played that a couple.
Yeah, I remember. So I hope to see you again, and wish you the best. And so I will put the interview on the website, and I give the link to the press agent.
Sounds great. Thank you, Laurent, and we'll see you on tour.
Okay, thank you. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.